Good morning, welcome to day 3. I hope you guys have gotten to enjoy a cup of coffee. I'm a little late, first cup right now. And I've absolutely loved seeing the pictures that you guys have taken so far and that you've been sharing them and tagging me in it. It's so awesome to see how I've encouraged and inspired you or made you think a little bit differently about light and composition. You guys have done so good. So welcome to day 3. Today's all about white balance and color. I don't want to get too technical. White balance is essentially the settings on your camera that teach you how to control colors depending on the setting you're in. So there's auto and tungsten and fluorescent, daylight, flash, cloudy, and shade, and then you can also adjust the color temperature based on a Kelvin scale if you have that option in your camera. Phones you cannot adjust in camera unless you have a separate app, so just the basic camera app that most people use, I use, you can't adjust the white balance in camera, but you can adjust it through editing software or through other camera apps if that's something you're interested in. The biggest thing is you can basically just edit if something is totally off, or slight adjustments in camera that you can adjust. Like once you have your scene set and you are looking at the light, making sure you have like good, potentially soft, or you're just mindful about the light. And then your composition is exactly the way you want it, and you've got everything placed, harmoniously, good balance of colors and tones. And then you want to adjust your camera and see how that looks. So as you're setting up to take your photo, you can see in live view how the color might change. Sometimes it can be really blue in shadows or really warm in daylight, and it just changes based on your setting. The key is just finding balance, as is everything else in photography, is just a balance to take out color casts like this orange, blue, and green examples here, where the color should never be distracting you. That's probably the most important takeaway today, is the color should not distract you in your photo. If there's anything distracting, that's your cue to say, hey, to ask yourself, hey, what can I change? What am I maybe doing wrong? Or what doesn't look right? What doesn't feel right? And how can I make adjustments based on that? So just know that all light is not equal, as we talked about in day 1, and you're going to get a different color and just different tones in every possible setting that you have. So as you're going through shooting, now we're looking at light, you've set up your composition, now I want you to pay attention to the color. Do you like the warmer tones like in this feed? Or the cooler tones that you see here? Or maybe you even like kind of a cool green tone like in this feed. Now, these are all Instagrammers that I have followed for a long time. I love their work, but it's so interesting to see how each one addresses their visual color choices differently. And that's not so much probably how they're adjusting in camera, it's just how they've used light, and then of course how they're editing. So you just have to decide what works for you. Like I've said in the previous days, don't fight your scene. So if you're in a very warm scene and you want it to be cool, you can make that adjustment in camera or in post-processing, but I would recommend that you try to work with what you have. So if you can warm up something, if you want it warmer, then throw in a color that lends to warmth, like a candle or a warm tone blanket. If you need a cooler tone because it's too warm, then you throw in something that's going to lend to the cooler temperature. You get out of the direct light, you can put in a cooler tone or a neutral toned object, blanket, or even what you're wearing. If you're in the photo, then you can change your shirt to reflect the color of your subject. So depending on your relative distance to the things you're shooting. So like if you're in the background of the photo, it's going to be a warmer tone in this burgundy shirt. So it just kind of depends on how that works for you. Just kind of check your settings, take a second to be mindful, play with the extremes, go all the way orange in your temperature, go all the way pink in your tone, and see what that does to your photo. Scale it back and then go the other way to the blues and greens, and what does that do to your photo? Now go back to the center and now just make minor adjustments and see what works for you. If this is just too much and you're like, I don't really want to adjust white balance, then the other practice to consider, your Instagram feed, your grid, is going to be a digital portfolio of your work, of your photos every day. And you will see side by side whether or not the color tones kind of match or go together, or if they clash really bad. So if you don't want to practice with white balance, just ensure that you're not getting a distracting color tone and move on. From there, you're just now looking at similar light tones, or similar light settings, so that you can practice with taking photos so that all your photos lend to the warmer side or the cooler side, like in the example I showed you before. So just a little bit more to be mindful of. It's important to practice getting your photos to look nice next to each other. This is a big component in branding, if you're at all interested in branding or how that looks. Even if you're not interested in branding, by being mindful of your color and how your photos look next to each other creates a lot of aesthetic appeal visually. So when you're looking through there, you feel inspired. So go look at your favorite Instagram feeds and see if this is something they practice. Now, not everybody will, of course, and that's okay. But it is just good to be aware of it and create a nice balance in your photos, that when you're going through, like back in the day, if you ever created a photo album or you see in magazines where you see all these photos side by side, do they look good together? What is their blend of images, where they'll have like the detail shot and then the full wide shot, and then they'll have something in between, but each one will still have a similar color tone so that they still fit together. You want your puzzle pieces to fit together. You don't want them to be forced. And so I hope that you found this helpful. I am looking forward to seeing more of your images posted, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.